Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new episode of the Square Circle Podcast. It is me, Marie Shadows. Just know that if I sound kind of like sniffly, I guess I'm making up some words because I woke up with a damn cold today. So if you hear some sniffles and or maybe sneezes, my apologies. It's just the time of the season. But it's me and my buddy, my bestie, Dose Evil, returning to review MLW Slaughterhouse 2025. That was on 10/4/2025. I just happened to want to decide to do like a week later just for mental purposes, but I'm glad that Dose Evil is joining me. Dose, how are you doing?
I'm okay. And everyone, if I sound a little grumpy or happy or dopey or even sleepy, it's because I want to feel like some of the dwarves too. I don't want Marie to be the only dwarf here. So,
oh my God, thank you. So MLW Slaughterhouse was over in Long Beach, California, and in the spirit of Halloween, in the spirit of horror, they decided to bring back their I forget exactly what they call it, but it's probably like we're gonna call it the Chamber of Horrors because there was an electric chair there. There was what do you call it? Cage, wire, barbed wire. It was like hell. Everybody
weapons,
entered hell.
chairs,
Weapons.
everything.
And then before we started recording, I had mentioned that like I actually witnessed this live when they were in Philly, probably like 2 years ago in October. I have my own like side review for that MLW Slaughterhouse, and I was like, I'm sold with this gimmick match. So they decided to put
a side review. So what? So you had a steady podcast, and then you had a podcast on the side. Is that what's happening here?
Well,
like
currently I have
you were cheating on your own podcasts.
Currently it feels like I'm cheating on my own podcast.
Oh
but back then it was just the Square Circle podcast, but also live tweeting that event to the point where like the wrestling community didn't like what I had to say, or even if I was like, yeah, this is true because I'm currently here, I'm on the front lines. That's what the wrestling community don't understand about certain media press people, that like we like to be on the front lines rather than sitting on an armchair in the basement somewhere. But currently, I'm currently cheating on the Square Circle podcast, if we want to say that.
Very scandalous.
Yes, very, very, very. Just like
I
this.
Love involved in something so juicy.
I tell you all the secrets, man. I tell you all the secrets.
Well, we'll just keep it between ourselves.
Yeah. Speaking of scandalous, they put so many people into this opening match that had Matthew Justice, Brock Anderson, C.W. Anderson, Mr. Thomas, Chris Adonis, and Matt Kruger, and they were all fighting to become the new MLW champion. And it gets all chaotic. You have Matthew Justice coming in with a chair automatically to Kruger. Everybody is like, yo, we got to take out the big guy. And they tried to take out the big guy, but that didn't work. Matt Kruger here showing his strength to do double choke slams to the Andersons, and then also doing a power bomb to Mr. Thomas.
Sorry.
We have, no, it's all good. I do want to spotlight Mr. Thomas in a little bit, though. Okay. Chris Adonis coming out, aka Chris Masters, for everyone that's listening. He's also, he threw in some punches, he threw in some stuff. People were going through tables. People were flying off the cage, aka Mr. Thomas. The reason why I want to spotlight him is because I really, really, really want him to get pushed to get that MLW championship belt, even though Kruger just got it, and Kruger is currently fighting with Dijak and Bishop Dyer and stuff like that. But damn, oh yeah, and Hammerstone. We'll get to all of that a little bit later because I had a very interesting theory that I think that you might kind of like. But I do want Mr. Thomas to be more involved in the title scene because he has like this newly found sort of like aggression, and he's jumping off of the cage, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's showing his power and whatnot, and I honestly think that in this match that Mr. Thomas like stole the show with the stuff that he was doing. But to wrap up everything for the first opening like cage match, I thought that Brock Anderson was going to take the electric chair, but CW ended up sacrificing himself to be in the chair, got in there, and got electrocuted. And that is how Mads Kruger retains the MLW World Heavyweight Championship title.
Yeah, a lot to unpack here. First, on an overarching, I'm not exactly sure what MLW is doing right now. I don't know who their faces are. It's Paul London has turned heel. Mr. Thomas has this attitude where he's heelish. Mads Kruger is in contra, and obviously they act heelish, but he's almost positioned as the face against the skyscrapers. And Hammerstone has turned heel. Most of the luchadors are heel. Most of the faces are, loners from CMLL or here on a limited basis from CMLL. Matthew Justice, I guess, is a face, but he's a crazy man. Paul Walter Hauser is clearly a face, but he's not really a full-time wrestler. The face to heel, Matt Riddle turned heel. The face to heel ratio is bizarre, and I'm not really sure who the faces are anymore. That aside, this match, for the level, I understand why something like this, which is normally a main event, had to go first, because they needed to get all of that stuff out of the ring and out of the area so that they could have the rest of the card. So that I get. It's not WWE where they can have things hanging from the ceiling and lower them down, and unlimited production and extra staff budget. But if you're going to have something so extreme and so violent, it needed to be longer. It was like a 10-minute match, including the introductions. This should have been a 35-minute match, and not because it was so great, but just because there was so much opportunity for chaos and violence and destruction. MLW, we choose violence. That's the new tagline, and this was like, we choose violence, but only for a short amount of time. Thomas worked his ass off. I don't know that putting Chris Adonis or Chris Masters in this was a good idea. Not because he's not a veteran, not because he's not a marquee name. He's a big enough name that people, especially on the West Coast where he's mostly located, will pop a little bit. The casual viewer will say, "Oh, I recognize him." Maybe he's physically, he looks different. He's got a new haircut and all that. He's got that giant mullet. But it's not like the great. It's sort of like what Tony Khan did. We're going to have a challenger from Florida face Mercedes Moné or whatever. And it's Lacey Lane, who Caden Carter, who, don't get me wrong, I love Caden Carter. I think K&K Dance Factory never should have been released. But first of all, most people don't know her real name, versus Caden Carter. Secondly, they're like, "Oh, Dakota Kai, it's going to be this one," and it was sort of a dud of a surprise. But the other thing is, he's like 47 years old, and I think you need someone a little bit spry and that can move around and not so big, because this place was cluttered. Brock Anderson, a big guy. Mr. Thomas, a big guy. Cruel, a big guy. CW Anderson's not a big guy, but he's not a small guy either. Matthew Justice is the only one you could say is a small guy that's spry, that can sort of fly around, and fly around he did. I think he was bleeding before he got in the match, doing his John Moxley impersonation. Anyway, the inside the match, it looked like they were calling a lot of spots on the fly, which maybe this needed to be a little bit more choreographed, because I'm not sure everyone knew where to be. And again, some of this might be because Chris Adonis might not have been available for the prior 3 or 4 days to go through it, or maybe he got put through the steps the day before, and maybe this would be a better place for Neon or Ariel Dominguez, or the little guy that can bounce around and whatever. And even if he's in the way, he's not really in the way. I don't know. I don't think they gave. Yes, I'm biased, but I don't think they gave Thomas enough time to shine. Like, he flew around a lot. He did a Hurricane Rana, but I'm not really sure that everyone knew what they were supposed to do. So, like, the Hurricane Rana didn't. I think the guy figured out halfway through he was supposed to do a Hurricane Rana. Like, some of the power bombs weren't exactly power bomby, because there's not a lot of room, because there's 6 guys plus all that clutter. And that electric chair took up a lot of space. That's like a big wooden Green Mile style electric chair. Anyway, yeah, the nice moment, I suppose. First of all, you're wondering, the Andersons, they're still together, and then and both Andersons are in that. That wasn't advertised. So yeah, obviously they're going to work as a team, and that's why. And so it was nice that CW took the literally the execution for his cousin, who's the younger one with a brighter future, presumably, or just out of a cousin. It's not filial. That's anyway, familial love. Pushed him out of the way. Thought he had a David's chance against Goliath, but he didn't. He got put straight in. He didn't even need to be strapped down, and the little thing electrocutes him. I don't know. I sort of had flashbacks to the exploding barbed wire death match from AEW, the lighting of the purple. I mean, I know that sometimes MLW is silly, but I don't think I don't know. Like, I think the silliness is supposed to be around like Azteca and Don Gatto and the leadership and I think their silliness is supposed to be in certain times and places, and and this looked a little silly. It looked a little bit like Halloween Spirit, when you're in a haunted house, but you're 7-year-old in the haunted house. I didn't like this match, I have to be honest with you, and not just because Tom. I think sometimes when you're a company that brings in people for a year or 2 years or 2 arcs or whatever, you sort of take your own folks for granted. I think Kwon is sort of being on the back end of things, and Thomas, but then again, Cruel was that guy for 4 years, and now he's the champion. So so maybe not so much, but maybe it's just my bias. But I didn't love this match for a bunch of reasons. I think if it went longer and was allowed to breathe, they could have had some more interesting spots, and it could have been more of an extreme match rather than sort of a rush mess. That said, people remember our last show. I did not like Fury Road. I was bored. Aside from this match, which was sort of a letdown, I actually really enjoyed the rest of the show.
I did too. And speaking of enjoying stuff, the Graveyard Shift by Shotzi is gonna be like my highlight for the whole entire show because that was fun. So Shotzi comes out and introduces her new show. It's episode 1. We'll just say episode one for her. And she calls out the skyscrapers, Bishop Dyer and Dijak. And Bishop Dyer gets onto the microphone and basically, saying that everyone around here is too soft. They're all going to get put down. And yeah, dude, you're like a freaking tree. The last time that I was right next to him, I had to like look up and be like, hey, bro, it's me, Marie Shadows. I used to be, from WWE and blah, 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 put myself over. But I still had to look up to him. So yeah, of course, wasn't
there a cat stuck in him and the fire department had to get it down?
Probably. He probably did that at one point in his life anyway. To be like, hey, Bishop, aka Baron Corbin, or Tom, can you get that cat for us? But of course, all the other people in MLW is going to get put down, all the smaller guys. And then the funny part was that Shotzi was all like, all right, calm down, man. I was like, oh, that's perfect.
Like, I know you guys. I know you guys from work. Don't worry. Stop following me around.
Dijak over here, because Shotzi was like talking. I think she had mentioned about like Mads Kruger or something like that, and Dijak was like, "I don't want to talk about him." In a way,
or Discount T-Bar.
Yeah. But Dijak does talk about like Hammerstone. That's what I have in my notes. And then, that miracle thing that Kevin Owens talks about in wrestling of like, if you mention the wrestler's name, they appear. And it wasn't Joe Henry though, but it was Mads Kruger that came out and started to attack Dijak and Bishop, and they fight to the back and whatnot. And then Shotzi is all like, "Oh my god, like really, guys, we're gonna start this fight." And then we get a tape promo, because I was going to call it a vignette. It's not really a vignette, but a tape promo of a returning Priscilla Kelly to MLW. And basically she's calling her shot against Shotzi, I guess all pun intended, because she's like, you guys praise her and all this kind of stuff. This is what she wants, and Priscilla Kelly is still going. No. Yeah. Priscilla Kelly is going with the, that she's what is it? Harlots?
the Hellfire harlot, or the harlot from hell, hell's favorite harlot.
So
Hell's
there we go.
harlot.
Yeah. So yes, that's exactly what's going to be happening. And then that match between Priscilla Kelly versus Shotzi is going to be happening November 20th over at South Carolina in Charleston. And I can't believe I forgot the middle part of this section of my buddy, Kwon, coming out to interrupt the Delgado celebration of Don Gatto, and Shotzi celebrating with tequila shots. I would like a tequila shot, the next time that I'm there. But that was the whole entire segment.
I think the Squared Circle podcast should be sponsored by Don Gatto. I think the Garden of Thought should be sponsored by Don Gatto. More importantly, I think the Marie Shadows and myself should individually be sponsored by Don Gatto. And really, I don't even need money. Just send me, like, you appear to have 2 variants of the tequila, just one of each. Sounds good. Anyway. Where to start? I mean, obviously the chaos of the skyscrapers and the fight, that was fine. Shotzi, unfazed by it, sort of like, she's sort of like you. She's like, man, chill out. She's got an attitude like you. This sort of like the New York thing, like, dudes, I get you, 7 feet, but shut up, get your corners. Everyone knows I'm a Shotzi fan. She looks great. She is great. Her energy is great. Even when things don't seem exactly right, you could just look at her and just see she's having fun, or you can just look at her and see that she's sexy. Whatever you want. You can look at her and try to figure out where the tattoos are, what her outfit is that particular week. I mean, it's like everything is a detail. There's something to pay attention to. I love the Priscilla Kelly promo, and I'm thinking there, wait, you guys were just friends. You were just like good friends. What's happened here? But that's like part of it. It's just like, it's always Shotzi. You think that she's nice, but she's not. She always wants the attention. So like Shotzi's like the good demon, and Priscilla's like the bad demon here, because they're both like, on the dark side. So one's like the good witch of the west or the south, and one's the bad witch of the north, or something like that. Well, I'm getting my Frank L. Baum confused, obviously, with my witches, but as long as it's a cardinal point, that's fine. But I thought Priscilla Kelly's promo was great. I think it's exciting to have her in MLW. I think it company like this without a whole lot of regular female wrestlers, just having those 2 of that stature that are going to feud, that's like a lot right there, and it was really cool. And then, of course, Kwon coming in, interrupting the tequila party. Selena and Caesar, probably have been drinking this entire month straight. The party hasn't stopped. Don Gatto hasn't changed his clothes. We have less luchadors drinking. Some of them do have mouth holes, but there's less of them there. And Kwon's in there, and he's like, no, you're not stealing all my sunshine. This is my place, and I'm gonna. And he rears his head back, and he's about to miss Don Gatto. And Don Gatto, like a bitch, pours his shot glass of tequila into brave Kwon's face, and then puts on his brass knuckles and punches him. I guess at some point he takes them off. And later on, like the Holy Grail, the gold brass knuckles are gone. And we have a mystery later on. Who stole them? So, and apparently it's not Akira Kwon, because apparently he has an alibi. He was, in medical, getting his face fixed from. I hope he's okay, because he's so handsome. But yeah, a lot happened in this Shotzi segment, and then we scream back to her, and she's like shrug, and and just walks away. She's like, see you next time.
Yeah, I was hoping that she would have had like some closing words after watching the video, after everyone watching the video. But I do know that like obviously her segment was timed, because you got to like stick to your times, as everyone knows on the indies. But I think that if she would have said maybe some closing words, it would have wrapped up everything nicely, rather than the shrug and going. Hopefully she ends up sending them a promo so that way they can play before November 20th. The next MLW show is on the 25th of October, so maybe she'll say something then. But I really did enjoy the segment, and I was thinking to myself, like, what happened if like she had this little segment for WWE, or they decided because her and Scarlett do the ghost hunting thing on YouTube, and that was a thing that WWE approved. So why not transition that to another kind of podcast where you could talk about horror stuff and Halloween stuff and like, doing what every other trendy person does on the internet of like, hey guys, I'm going to like, the Halloween store to do like a haul, and this is what you could get for like this amount of money, and this is how you could turn this into this, or interview other people who love Halloween, and you have the YS6 there that you could also try to interview, even though that might be breaking character. But like, imagine if WWE was like, you know what, we're gonna go through with this, make it a whole big spectacle, and let Shotzi have a lot of fun with it. I was like, maybe WWE missed something on the mark, because honestly,
they miss a lot of things. They miss a lot of things. I mean, they're trying to like bring in kids again with with the yeet and all that, but like they think like three sexy women talking about Halloween. Like, first of all, the kids wouldn't know that they're sexy. The kids, kids are immune to that kind of thing. But they like Halloween and like people dressed up in makeup and with crazy hair. So that would be great. But more importantly than that, you three ladies, you're all basically free agents right now. I mean, give a brother a rope here. Let's do that on my show. We can talk about Halloween. I know about Samhain. I know about all of the pagan rituals. I know the origins and how things. Let's talk about Bell Time and Bell-Aim. Let's go there. Let's do it. Do it on my together or solo. Yeah, 3 separate shows, and then maybe like a joint one. So. It'll be lots of fun. Garden of Thought used to be Garden of Doom. It's not even a hard stretch. We're still Doom in our DNA. So let's come on. I could use the help. I mean, you guys can get a stream anytime you want, and you just go on. You're gonna get 50,000 people watching. All 3 of you, you're gonna get 150,000 people on. Put on Cross, you're gonna get another 100,000 people. So listen, just give a man a break. Just give me those 250,000 people once, just once. After that, it's my responsibility to hold on to them. All right, I'm getting pathetic now.
I mean, we'll try something, man. All you have to do is just network and talk to people. We'll see what happens at the end of the year. But what happened?
I'm so bad at those things, networking and talking to people.
No, you're not.
I know. I'm actually pretty good at it.
Yeah, like you convince other people to be like, all right, cool, I'll be on the show or something, and then have like a co-host for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm sort of in a dry spell. I'm sort of having one of those ebbs rather than flows. So
it happens.
I'm a little manic. I get a little bipolar in like how I feel my levels of success and failure are going. While most of the time I'm in a happy medium about pretty much everything else. But if it's just about like how I'm doing on the thing that I'm not doing well that moment, that's all that matters. Like I have like 5 shows in the can for the garden shows, that are recorded and ready to go. So that if I like was in a coma for 5 weeks, no show would be missed. Everything, but this, because I'm having trouble booking, wrestlers, even indie wrestlers. It's like literally, I got a message to Mark Cuban yesterday. Mark Cuban, I cannot get responses from like indie wrestlers with like 1,100 followers. I mean, it's like they're like too cool for me, and maybe they are too cool for me.
You're gonna have to start making just simple videos like, hey, I try to rap an Eminem of like, hey, I've been writing you and calling you, but you still ain't picking up or whatever.
Right. That stands. And I want to be clear, Mark Cuban has not responded to my intermediary about my message, but the message was received.
Oh, at least, hey, it's a plus, right? You got your foot in the door. Usually I have people reaching out to me to get their people onto my stuff.
Like me, I reach out to you and I'm like, help me.
Listen, I have 2 people in mind. Okay, I have to ask. I have 2 people in mind. And yeah, but
yeah, we want them to be asked. We're not like Shanghai, people for the British Navy here. We're not doing a human trafficking or podcast trafficking. Cyber trafficking.
Sir, stop. Okay, back to MLW, because we have the Opera Cup to go over. Opera Cup 2025. Jesus Rodriguez, because I was about to call him Jesus, even though you say Jesus. Introduce Julio Cesar Rivera, who's from
You're so bad at
CML.
being
And
Latina, you know that?
what happened?
You're so bad at being Latina.
Yeah, I know, but I could cook you. I could cook you the food of my people. Okay, I could cook you Italian food, and I could cook you Puerto Rican food. I could cook you a penne. I could cook you lasagna, chicken parmesan, whatever you guys want. Yeah, I'm so bad at being Latina, but I will feed you.
That sounds awesome.
So I guess that's my pass. I will feed you guys, even though I am a bad Latina. Because I was born and raised American. That's all it is. But I cannot roll my R's, so you guys cannot get upset at me. I can't roll my R's for shit. And I sound white talking Spanish, so I'm just like, no. I try sometimes.
You sound New York. New York is its own thing.
I know. I remember when people used to tell me, "Oh yeah, you have that New York accent," and I'm here like, I don't know what you mean, because sometimes I can't hear it or I could hear it, but yeah.
If you guys want, you're in New York, you don't have a New York accent. You just speak like everybody in New York. I mean, there's like Brooklyn and Bronx has some distinctive parts to their.
Yeah, we do.
But and obviously the people in New Paltz, New York, don't sound like New York City. When we're talking about New York accent, we're talking about like Metro New York City, like going into
like Manhattan.
I just mean like the whole 50-mile radius, 100-mile radius of New York City, but not include and parts of northern New Jersey, but basically stopping at Newark. It's just there's a style of speech.
There is, and we don't mean to be on like side notes and side tangents, but I will say that it does bother me when I hear other New Yorkers say garbage or coffee. Like that shit fucking annoys the shit out of me, dude. It's garbage. Guava? What?
Water or putting an R.
Oh, water.
So my sister-in-law's name is Jessica, and everyone calls her Jessica.
Why? That's so what?
It's a New York thing. You add an R to the end of a name. Isabella.
I never heard that until now. For the names.
but it doesn't happen on like tradition like Adriana. It isn't Adriana. It's Adriana. It's like weird. It's like it's. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I'm sure there's some linguistics who could. This is a sidetrack that has that I'm going to cul-de-sac right now.
If anybody out there is a linguist, reach out to Dose Evil, so that we could get on the garden of thought to explain that to us about how language works. Because because even sometimes my pronunciation is not like really good pronunciation. So yeah,
Abracap.
So of course we have Julio coming out to be the introduction person, because I forgot that the other guy in this match got replaced, because I don't know why. So Star Jr. comes out. It's Star Jr. versus Volador Jr. Two juniors going against each other. We have wrestling. We have a lot of
got injured. He got injured in the last match where he walked off with his Phantasmo guys, which didn't look like he was injured to me, but he got injured. So he was replaced with Star Jr. And I don't mean to be catty about things, but I actually think this was an upgrade.
Yeah, it was. It was an upgrade.
We always knew that there were alternates for the Opera Cup, but the only name I ever heard was Mr. Thomas as being an alternate for the Opera Cup. So I never knew what was the order of the alternates, or if the alternates were for certain brackets. And I would have liked to have heard that. That said, I mean, it doesn't matter. We'll never find out that answer. If we do, it'll be just something, it'll just be like, well, Thomas was already on this show. So, but I actually think I saw Star Jr. a few years ago, and I remember not being particularly impressed by him. Boy, has he gotten better. He's gotten bigger. Mm-hmm. He's gotten better. He's gotten into better shape. I mean, everything that, I don't know his relative age, but everything the Jungle Boy hasn't done in the last 4 years or 5 years, Star Jr. has done, and definitely an upgrade over the pirate. I forget his name, but Valdecon. Listen, of the three pirates, he was the best, but still not so good.
Yeah. Um, now I'm trying to remember the name if it was right. But either way. So yeah, so we start off with wrestling, and then Headlock Scissor take over to Hurricane Rana. They're both like even. We get a lot of topes. We get interference because Volador Jr. comes out with his two henchmen, and the referee, is just like, oh, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's
But
going
it's my
on.
favorite. It's like two of my favorite henchmen. Besides when it might be me as the Sentai Death Squad, it's Magnus and Rugido. Rugido, I love Rugido. I don't know. It's like just supposed to be monster. It's like I thought it was Red Wolf or something. No, it's just a monster. So all of his different monsters. I mean, it's great. I love those two guys, Rugido and Magnus.
We get some chops, this slingshot neck breaker into the senton that I believe Star Jr. did. We get a roll through Code Red by Volador Jr., but that doesn't put nobody away. We do get some super kicks. You always have to have some super kicks in the match. And then Star Jr. ends up trying to do an Alabama slam. That I was like, cool. How many people would do this nowadays? However, freaking Volador Jr. decides to counter that into a destroyer that looked just super crazy and like spiked Star Jr. And then he goes for the cover 1, 2, 3. And I was like, oh shit, that's the finish. that caught me off guard. But yes, Volador Jr. advances in the Opera Cup.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the guys, the alternate shouldn't be advancing, but again, it's a surprisingly good match. Both guys worked really well together. Volador, for some reason, I mean, he wasn't wearing a short sleeve shirt today. He sort of like cut his shirt like tank top style. I still don't understand why that guy who's completely ripped and jacked, wrestles in his shirt, but I guess maybe he's trying to sell the merch, so good on him. Magnus and Ruhido, they made themselves known, but they weren't like overly heely involved in it. It was actually a pretty good balance. I thought these guys worked together great. I thought the match was a lot of fun. Volador won. I'm starting to really be won over by Volador, especially since now he's got cronies. I mean, he probably always did, but not on MLW. So we've seen they were the tag team champions for a while, Ruhido and Magnus, but they were in a thing with the Blue Demon Jr. and I don't know, maybe it was Blue Demon for all I know. I can't remember, but Blue Panther I think was his or Black Panther or I don't know. It doesn't matter. And then it was Okamura and Kojima that they were involved with also, but. This was great. This was what a surprise. This was a really good match, and it wiped some of the sadness out of my throat about what happened to poor Thomas and even worse, what happened to poor Kwon.
Mm-hmm. While you were naming the Panthers and all the colors that the Panthers come in, yes. I was just thinking that it's like Color Panther, and then I was thinking that eventually it's gonna be like Power Rangers, so all gonna like assemble and make like a big ass Panther Megazord thing going on.
Giant Voltron Panther.
That too, right? Like
when Nikki Blackheart, when photos of her first surfaced and people look, it's like I'm like. It's like Paige and Jordan Gray's Voltron.
That is true because of like the stockiness and her working out, and yeah, I can see that. That's funny.
Yeah, and then she went from like having 189 followers to like she has like 30,000 followers like over the course of a month. I was like 2 days too late on like I don't know if she would have said yes, but she's very responsible on social media. But like, I think if I asked her to be on the show like 2 days earlier when she like had 189 followers, she would have said yes. But by the time she got circulated, like she was already like she was gaining like 1,000 followers like every 6 hours. So I think at this point she's like, yeah, I'm gonna be on Fightful. I don't need to be talking to this guy. Which,
by the way, we do not mention that name on the show.
Oh, well, okay. Well, so I'm going to be on Chris Van Vliet, or I'm going to be on practically anyone bigger than the guy with a cartoon luchador demon.
I mean, listen, we send out signals as we record the show to be like, hey, go be on the Garden of Thought.
Like Aquaman and the old super.
Yeah. But other than that, the other Opera Cup match, Bishop Dyer versus Kojima. I'm a little bit on the fence on this one. only because of like, I don't know. I think there needs to be a consistent kind of thing going on, because obviously Bishop Dyer is a big guy. Obviously if he's gonna like strike you, it's gonna be a hard hit. Kojima is known to like hit people hard no matter what. I just felt like my brain is like call him Baron, but my brain is all like Bishop over here just dominated the match. Kojima was trying to come back, make a comeback. He did eventually. I'll just get to the finish. The finish was that he did two lariats to Bishop Dyer to get to 1, 2, 3 to move on, and then Bishop Dyer gave him the middle finger. The reason why I'm not going through like my notes of what happened, because it's big guy stuff, but it's not big guy stuff where it's exciting to tell you what happened, because it was like a couple hits here, and then Bishop Dyer is like posing to the crowd or whatever, or feeding into the crowd, and then you have Kojima being very slow and sluggish, when I'm like, well, yeah, he is getting older, but all the other matches in MLW he was shown to be really, really good. So I don't know, there's like this weird off balance that I didn't like this match in full, but I get it. But yes, Kojima ends up winning and advancing in the Opera Cup.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't see Kojima fueling up on bread and bagels, so maybe that was the his sluggishness. Kojima is really a really thick guy. He's in really remarkable shape. Forget about the fact that he's like 55. I mean, for any for 45, for 35, whatever. But he's like a really thick, compact, strong guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's like sort of big everywhere. And I have mixed. You have the guy, he came in from WWE, but he's a tag team champion. He doesn't need to win this match. Basically, what I think this was for Bishop Dyer. It's also hard for me to say Bishop Dyer. I mean, I'm so confused between Bishop Dyer, Tom Paystock, and Baron Corbin. It's like I don't even know what he wants to be called. But I'm getting used to Bishop Dyer. Remember how Eddie Kingston really wanted to have the Japanese strong style match against, like, it was either Suzuki or Ishii or probably both. And the matches really suck, and they're all the same. But like, he cried after it, and it's like, okay, that's nice, but sheesh. I mean, you're supposed to be like a New York Street Fighter tough guy. I mean,
no. Dude, I could tell you 100% that there is no tough guy in that little kitten of his body, dude. I like, from one New Yorker that's like way more tougher than Eddie, like, yeah. And people are gonna get upset at me for that. I don't give a shit. Like, I could sniff out a good New Yorker. He's not one of them.
We've seen or heard enough about it to know that you're right. But part of this is acting, so do it in private. Anyway, so I think this was Bishop Dyer saying, I want to have this match. And Kojima, getting the win in the end. I think it's fine. Just for the Opera Cup, I actually think that what looks like the semifinals actually makes a lot of sense for MLW and being the Opera Cup a lot more than, just you get the ex-WW guys and put them into contention, and that's not what's happening. So I think I actually think it's good brand-wise. I think it makes sense. And Dyer, he's with the skyscrapers and in the, sort of in and around the title story, plus the tag team titles and a few with Contra, and then you sort of have Hammerstone on the outside, circling around. I don't think was important for him to win, and I think this was a good match for the crowd and a good match. If you were, I mean, I know YouTube, you don't flip channels, but if you were flipping channels and you said, oh, that's Baron Corbin, and who the hell is that guy? Or he looks, if you're a wrestling fan, you might go, he looks familiar from some. It's like, but he looks like somebody. It's like, no offense to someone like Kushida or whatever, but he doesn't look like airport test thing. Kojima, airport test guy for sure. And because there aren't many Japanese NFL players, you're probably going to think power lifter or professional wrestler. That's what you're going to think when you see him, and you'd be right. So I thought this match was, and it wasn't too long. It was like maybe 9 minutes. So it was. I thought this match was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say this though, that I do enjoy Bishop Dyer as a tag team wrestler currently with him and Dijak, because those matches feel a lot better. Whenever they decide to break up and they do singles, Bishop Dyer is definitely gonna like feel good in those matches. I like I said, I just think that the dynamic of this match was just like, what are we doing here? It should have been a little bit more exciting, or a little bit more like big man can go and let me show you how, rather than just dominating Kojima and then having Kojima make the comeback and then getting two lariats in and whatnot. But yeah, Kojima is a stocky guy. By the way, I did not know how you were so on the nose of him being 55 years old. I had to go look up his age.
I probably looked it up at some point. You know what the biggest outrage of this whole thing was? You know how they had the tombstones lined up, and they had like Dave Meltzer, they had
Yeah,
Vince,
yeah.
what's their last name? They had a name that they will not say, and some others. I think Roger Geary's name was on there as well. But like you're the only person that covers MLW religion. Why did Marie Shadows not have a tombstone?
Well, I do not know. I do not want one. Well, you know what? It's probably because I don't talk shit about MLW, that I don't put them in the ground. That I'm like, yo, I'm willing to help you guys out. I'm willing to talk about MLW the show with my buddy Dose Evil here, and I'm willing to make sure that all the guys are taken care of. Get your mind out of the gutter, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this live or after the fact. But
Ooh.
like, if I'm able to help the wrestlers in like going up to get them water or something to like snack on when they can't really do that if they're at the merch table, or even talk to the fans to be like, hey, now you can meet the wrestler and whatnot. If I could just help out, that's great. This is why I probably don't have a gravestone, because I don't talk shit about MLW. I want to be part of everything involved in MLW, and I want to be a part of the company, and I want to make sure that people know that there's an alternative to WWE, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and all the other indies out there that won't charge you an arm and a leg and your mortgage if you just want to go and get $15 tickets or $10 tickets, or even get front row seats or whatever. You're not going to break the bank on your budget, and you could go have a good time at MLW. So
I also think that
I put them over.
Yeah, you're right, and fair enough. I mean, I don't know if all those other places talk badly about MLW. I don't know if they talk about MLW at all, which is even worse. But if you're listening to MLW, you should be in the future. She doesn't want a tombstone. I guess it's like bad luck or something. I want a tombstone. I want it. It could just say evil dose evil. It could be my real name. I don't care. But I want a tombstone. I don't think it's that big. Put mine in the back where nobody can read it on screen. It's fine. I don't know how we do this, and I don't know that we can, but I know a few New York people. You met a couple of them when we were up there in New York. Charleston is a long trip, but it's not that long a trip. I don't know, like renting like a van or something, doing like a road trip sounds like it could be a fun idea. It could also sounds like it could be terrible.
It could be. It just depends if the stars line up. However, next month I'm getting my wisdom tooth pulled, so I need recovery time for that. So I don't want to risk anything for that month just to
so you
just
won't drive. You just sit in the back row and sleep. Come on, your semi hubby will do all the driving. He looks like a power driver.
We do not know how to drive. So
yeah, you're New Yorkers.
Sorry.
That's all right. I'll do the driving.
We tried.
No, I'm really good at it. I'm an excellent driver, especially when I'm asleep. It's awesome.
Oh my God, man. But yeah, just so everybody knows, I'm taking out my wisdom tooth next month. But
so
we'll see what happens.
Summer of 1987, at the Emory Dental Clinic, they said you need to get these wisdom teeth out within 6 months, or you're in big trouble. We now sit here in October of 2025, and they're all still in there. So whatever all my problems are, you now know why.
Oh, yeah, I never knew that.
Or no, nobody knows. Why would anyone know this? But and that's the day where I started all the conspiracy theories and started the anti-science movement. It's me. I'm the one. It's not our. It was you. Got all this shit from me.
It was you all along.
But
Yeah. But remember how earlier I was mentioning that when I went to the first ever like Slaughterhouse pay-per-view event in Philly, they haven't changed those gravestones. So those gravestones have been the same thing like every year that they do Slaughterhouse for like horror stuff. So they haven't changed. They haven't added anything new to it
every
either.
year
So
should be something to give people something to look at, something like everything should not, like, you should be like the Flaniverse from the horror movies that I think Mike Flanagan does. Like every line, every scene means something. Everything should mean something. That's why you need people like me and Marie Shadows in there as continuity managers. Just for these little things that they become collectibles. You can sell those things every year. You can use them as sponsors. You can sponsor those that space out. If you want to be like TKO and sell the soul of people's wrestling boots, for God's sake. And I mean the bottom of it, not the actual souls. But if you could show a soul, they'd put ads on an actual human's soul as well. Believe me.
Yeah, I totally forget about that. Sometimes, off camera and whatnot, I'll think about ways of like how much money collectively as content creators and podcasters and even like promotions leave on the table, like how much money they leave on the table. Because somebody out there is willing to pay like $200 for like a collectible item, or even like, $20 or $100 for something,
Well, how about that? I mean, what if it was available? Listen, I don't want to volunteer or anybody else. Let's just say the Squared Circle podcast wanted to advertise, and so you get the first tombstone is like $250 for it. You pay $250 and it says the Squared Circle podcast there, and I'll show a lot of people saying that, and then they give it to you. They give you that little styrofoam tombstone, and then you can either resell it, or you can give it away in a contest to your fans, or whoever, your Patreons for the last 6 months. You put them in a tumbler and it's a raffle. Whatever, you can do whatever you want with it, or just keep it and put it behind you on your live streams, whatever, and it's all cool. But I don't know, it's like, they haven't changed them in all these years. Come on, that's just lazy.
Yeah, I mean, like when I saw the opening scene, I was like, oh, same thing that I saw like 2 years ago when I did the review. Oh my God, I'm gonna. Okay, to get there, I'm not gonna sneeze. Okay. Symphony of Horrors comes to MLW Saturday, October 25th. Right after that little like video package, we get Paul Walter Hauser being a special guest on commentary, and then we have the Opera Cup, which is my favorite match because first time ever, Austin Aries versus Paul London. Austin Aries will forever be a heel. Paul London is in this sort of field of like good guy, bad guy, in between. Wants one last run. So this was a very good matchup because it was wrestling, it was testing skills. Both of these guys were evenly matched, especially with like the collar and elbow tie up into the takedown, and then Paul London doing his own version, but doing an arm drag, and then we got like a head scissors. Austin Aries got out of that, did his signature drop kick. Austin Aries had a lot more offense on Paul London. There was a bunch of chops, belly to belly, suicide dives. And then Paul Walter Hauser, even though he was trying to be the support person in this match, somehow ended up being in the match because Austin Aries moved out the way and allowed Paul London to hit Paul Walter Hauser. He goes down, and then there was the reverse neck breaker. And then Austin Aries goes and does that running drop kick into the brainbuster, pins Paul London 1, 2, 3, and Austin Aries is advancing into the Opera Cup in 2025. It's kind of really weird for me to be like, Austin Aries is advancing in a tournament because it's been so long that we haven't seen him, and then he's been doing commentary for MLW. He's been hanging out in Mexico for people that want to know. But yeah, Paul London eats a pin, shoves Paul Walter Hauser, and Surprisingly, Paul Walter Hauser is getting better on the mic. What he told Paul London about, like, giving him a mini apology and then being like, this isn't like velocity and whatnot, and just basically calling him out. But I did not know that was his mentor, and I'm using air quotes here. But yeah, I didn't know that was his mentor. Maybe they're gonna have a match. But yeah, that was the whole entire match and segment.
Yeah, I think they have to. At some point, they're going to have to build to whatever it is. Let's go with the assumption that MLW is going to get a TV deal, or a streaming deal, and it starts, at some point early in 2026. I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, that seems like that would be, on that first show, because there's a pretty good chance that people are going to know who Paul Walter Hauser is, especially since he was, in Fantastic Four and some other things that are, pretty mainstream. I thought this was good. I mean, Austin Aries last show did a promo where he was like the last true real pro wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna learn from him. This time he sort of became like the angry bro podcaster. It's like he sort of like was like the angry YouTuber, I'm the truther. So he did like a little spin off that, and I actually think this has more legs than I'm the last true wrestler. Mm-hmm. So and actually Austin Aries is one of those early adopters to contrarian thinking. He's a vegan. I'm sure when he was in Mexico, he got stem cell treatments and all sorts of stuff. But this match was actually really good. Mm-hmm. One thing, I mean, aside from the fact that I didn't like the abrupt ending in the Slaughterhouse match itself, for reasons stated very longly earlier, none of the matches on tonight's had like long, elaborate build-ups to finishes, and mm-hmm. it felt abrupt but refreshing at the same time. Like, it didn't feel like LFG, which is the WWE mm-hmm. like Tough Enough show, where you can just tell they're up against the time and someone says, okay, wrap it up, and they all of a sudden they do a finisher. This all felt like it made sense. And a brain buster, these days isn't a finisher anymore, but now it is, and it should be. It never shouldn't have just been a transition move. It's like, and he does it so well. These two guys worked really well together. I mean, I'm sure they've worked together before, but I can't think of where or when. I like what Paul Walter Hauser goes, I'm sorry I'm not Funaki or Brian Kendrick.
Yeah.
He didn't mean PJ, so I was a little sad there. But that was good. I know Paul doesn't like me, but I've been liking him ever, more and more increasingly. So, maybe we'll have a reconciliation, unilateral one day. Who knows? I thought this was a really good match, and it was a good ending. And I think Austin Aries being in the Opera Cup makes a lot of sense. I think that the story with Paul is something that they've been building on for 6-8 months now to various degrees. And I think it was good. I enjoyed it. What's to say? It was good.
Mm-hmm. I will say this though, that lately, with Paul Walter Hauser's involvement, MLW has, I guess, rented out space in order to show the movies that he's been in, because they showed I guess, is it called like a biopic of Bruce Springsteen? And Paul Walter Hauser has like 3 to 5 seconds in the trailer, so they showed out MLW, and then I noticed that there's been a really big uptick, and I'm not sure if it's like on behalf of him or whatnot, of who he knows in Hollywood, but TMZ has decided to make their own corner of talking about professional wrestling, and the reoccurring star, we'll get to him in a second, which is Matt Riddle, has been on there, and also Paul Walter Hauser has been on there. So with all of this good press for MLW and building, eventually they will probably be given a TV deal, because I mean, TMZ, everybody knows about TMZ, it's word of mouth marketing. So eventually they'll do it. And I think that Paul Walter Hauser is that connector with all of the, hands in everything. I don't know why I want to say hands in pocket.
and good luck and good job, whoever it was who either contacted him or took his call or returned his email when they got an email from, at that time, a sort of obscure actor, and said, yeah, sure, we'd love to have you involved, or what do you have in mind? So whoever decided to take the idea of, yes, I'll listen, good on them, whether it's Court Bauer or whomever else. Maybe it was AJ. So but yeah, no, this has all been good. And yeah, TMZ generally is not going to follow something as a favor. They're doing it as either because they think it's big now, or it will be, so it's an investment. And so if they think this is going to be a bigger deal, then that's great. And all of this is fun. And TMZ covering wrestling, I mean, they always sort of covered WWE, and then they expanded a little bit. So they've been sort of inching into it. So all this is good timing, and you have to be everywhere with wrestling because everyone keeps telling me TV is dead, and then they're going to tell me that streaming is dead, and then they're going to tell me YouTube is dead, and then they're going to tell me social media is dead. But none of these places are actually dead. It's diversification. Everything's diversified. So they're all alive. Some are weller than others, but they're none. But between all of them, I mean, there's people watching stuff and consuming it. So yeah, so all good on PWH.
Yeah. Right Pro after the Pro Wrestling Hauser. Yeah. That'd be cool. So we get a video package because, as you know, and I know, and people know, November 20th in Charleston, South Carolina is MLW's Spanish show. It's
something where
Day of the Dead. Yeah, it's Day of the Dead. They showed the video package for Killer Cross and Scarlet because they're going to be coming to MLW. Are you a fan of when promotions in general do this, where they like give you the surprise early, or do you want them to debut and be like, oh shit, they're here?
I think if you're MLW, you need to do it early. You need to promote when you're getting something big early. If you're WWE, you can probably do either because they're trying to create moments and social media trends and get, say that they got 23 million views within the first 24 hours. They're looking for that more than the surprise. I think it depends on the promotion and the time. And there are certain shows that people will tune into just for the surprises. But like, for example, something like I don't know what, like the Crown Jewel, which I think that if you're going to have a surprise return, you should advertise like 36 to 72 hours ahead of time to but MLW, absolutely, I think doing a commercial letting us know that Priscilla, Kelly, Karrion Kross, and Scarlett are going to be on your shows for some period of time in the future is an ad for people to watch it. I don't know that anyone tunes into MLW for the surprises. And frankly, because the surprise, listen, I praised his work, but the surprise is more likely to be Star Jr. than it is to be, Karrion Kross. So I think you have to advertise it based on the position they're in. I mean, it's one of the criticisms I had of AEW that when they were having people like West Side Gun or on their show promoting. I mean, how would anyone know West Side Gun's on there? Because half the people they're watching AEW don't know who West Side Gun is, or it's no big deal. It's just getting in the way of their wrestling. But West Side Gun fans need to know that he's there. If you want, I mean, you have someone like West Side Gun or Action Bronson on your show so that their fans tune in. So you need to let them know in advance. I mean, WWE never hides the fact that Cardi B or Sexy Red or Bad Bunny's going to be on the show, or Jelly Roll or Hardy. They let you know so that their fans know to tune in. Now at this point, they might not tell you that Jelly Roll is going to be there more. Or they will, but the surprise will be Post Malone, and so the next time it'll be Post Malone, and then so the surprise will be Machine Gun Kelly, whatever. I mean, I'm not fans of any of these people. I don't know any of their music. I don't know a goddamn thing about them. The only songs I've ever heard from them, the ones they sing on WWE. It ain't for me. The only new song I know is from like the Fontaines DC, like what's it called, Starfighter or something. I sort of like that song. And I'm sure like everyone else is like, we were sick of it 2 years ago, and it's new to me. So that's just I still like WAP. So that's to me that's a new song. So I mean, there's some hoes in the hoes. There's some hoes in the house. Anyway, what were we talking about? Anyway, yeah, I'm super excited that the Cross and Scarlet are in there. They're just forever going to be some of the biggest what ifs combined with whys in my mind in the history of wrestling, without there being some like super tragedy, without like someone dying young or whatever, like Brian Pillman, he died young. It's like that, Bray Wyatt dying at 36. I mean, those are what ifs, but like people who are there and ready to work and just never seem to get with the right people at the right time. Like everything always seems to be. So I'm super excited that while there is this wave of goodwill towards them, that MLW is capturing that at what is pretty close to exactly the right time.
Yeah, I was gonna make 2 points. I was gonna say one, as of like 6 days ago, because now would be like day 7, because I watched this yesterday. I believe that when MLW dropped Slaughterhouse, they capped out at like 98K views. And it's been like a consistent number for the past like 6 days as of like me thinking about it, which is a good thing. So, announcing wrestlers early and stuff could definitely help bring up the YouTube views. So that way there could be some type of metric to show off and leverage, to a certain point to get a TV deal, to have someone believe in them. And then the second point I was going to make, if you would have continued with WAP, I would have been like, and now we segue into Matt Riddle versus Hammerstone, because only one out of the two have an OnlyFans. And has red hair and is a rude dude now. I do hope that I still get my hugs from Matt when I see him, because he gives some damn good hugs. And he has like some really weird ass freaking like super strength, even though he's a guy and guys have, strength anyway. But yeah, he has some really strong ass strength, and I was like, bro, why the fuck are you putting so much strength into this hug? Like, I get it. But yes, Hammerstone versus Matt Riddle. This was one of those where it was like Hammerstone, being the guy with all the muscle, has all the strength in his arms and stuff like that, and power stuff. So for Matt Riddle, it was more like hit and run. During this type of match, we do get some belly to back stuff on Riddle. Riddle tries to do for inside cradle because Riddle is working smart. They both do this thing where like, strike against strike, aka what like people in Japan do that I like to talk about. We get this really cool power slam on Riddle from Hammerstone, but Riddle kicks out. And then of course it wouldn't be complete without a ref bump, because some shenanigans are going to be playing out. So we get a ref bump. And then this is where I wanted to introduce my theory, because as soon as the ref bump happens, here comes Mads Kruger walking down. And I was like, oh my God, he could be a doppelganger. Because in my head, I'm like, oh, I thought he's still fighting with Dijak and Bishop in the back. And then all of a sudden, here comes Mads Kruger to fight Hammerstone. But then like 2 seconds, they did not let it breathe that much. Dijak and Bishop come down, all out brawl for a second. Then they leave the ring. And then here comes Matt Riddle with a low blow. And the ref is like, oh my God, I'm awake. I'm okay. 1, 2, 3. Matt Riddle pins and beats Hammerstone. And then, Matt Riddle gets on the mic and it's like, we're no longer in the era of King of Bros. We are, he's rude dude, because now he wants to tell people exactly how he feels or whatnot, which is somewhat like overdue in my opinion. But yeah, Matt Riddle versus Hammerstone was a really good match. Heavy at times. We got that ref bump. We got a doppelganger, and then it's all rude dude from here on out.
And he did Richard Holliday's finisher.
The low blow?
Yeah, the exaggerated low blow from behind. Yeah. Well, Richard Holiday also does it from the front. But, yeah. This was a fun match. I think it just goes to support my theory that Hammerstone is not exactly on a contract, or at least not a long-term one. He's also working Samhain for NWA, I think, but I know he's done some work with NWA while working for MLW. But yeah, the Matt Riddle is basically leaning into his online real life persona of sort of being angry at a bunch of people and sort of unapologetic. Yeah, I said I could beat anybody up in any locker room. It's true, I could. And listen, he was an MMA fighter, and I'm sure he could beat up most of the fake wrestlers. I think we've had this discussion. I mean, there are other wrestlers that have real fighting backgrounds. Brock Lesnar, UFC champion, Bobby. And just between the size difference, and I know there's youth, but I find it hard to believe that Matt Riddle could beat up Brock Lesnar or Bobby Lashley or Shelton Benjamin, or Baron Corbin, who's got some, also Karrion Kross, Killer Kross, who's got some bona fides as well. I mean, also because of the size, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I've seen 127 pound, actual real boxers knock the shit out of offensive linemen before, but offensive linemen aren't, trained to fight. They're trained to block, defensive line. Anyway, good promo. He got the boos. Somebody who everybody wants to cheer no matter what. People were booing him. That's what he's supposed to do. It fits in with his sort of multicolored hair now. It fits in with his attitude. It fits in with his, painting his fingernails and all that. His attire is altogether too small. He's wearing European bathing trunks as his wrestling trunks. It's a bit disconcerting. And for a guy who talks about how giant his dong is, it's not supported by the evidence of his ring attire. I mean, I'm not saying that it's, I'm not saying he's got tiny hands or anything. I'm just saying, that if you're bragging about it, there should be a pair of sock-like bulge there, and there wasn't. Yes, I looked. Of course, I looked, dummies.
It's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, you can't call me. I've had 14 wives. What are you talking about? So anyway,
we all looked, man. We all looked. I looked too.
Anyway, this is fine. I like the psyching things, and again, I cannot confirm nor deny that I was one of the two guys in the Sentai Death Squad who were trying to even the odds for old Kruger over there. And as would be the real case, if I was hypothetically in a fight, I would hypothetically be incompetent. So just like they were. So again, I can neither confirm nor deny that I was there.
Yeah. It is what it is. Because Matt Riddle has been a reoccurring character on TMZ, I did not hear his explanation as to why, he oh no, maybe I did, for why he dyed his hair red. Apparently he's in his Super Saiyan God form, which I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting and funny. I never knew he was a fan of Dragon Ball Z. I'm a fan of Dragon Ball Z. I just can't get into the newer stuff because it's a little too cringe for me. But yeah, they made it to Super Saiyan God, and then I forgot the other one, because I think Super Saiyan God, it has the red hair, and then you have Super Saiyan something God that has blue hair. No. Probably, but no. But yeah, he explained that he decided to dye his hair red because it's it's his next form. It's his next form. Yeah. But I just want to put it out there that Matt Riddle be saying outrageous things. That does not mean you take him seriously. All the shit that he says is just shit talking because he's in the business of pro wrestling, and we all know that pro wrestling is the lifeblood of pro wrestling is talking shit to one another until it gets real, and then you have to reassess everything. But for the meantime, Matt Riddle just talks shit. That's all he does. Don't take it seriously. Him saying that it does. Controversy does create cash. Just like the two controversial statements. The first one being that he said that AJ Lee was sleeping around and whatnot, and you could tell he was fucking around with the way that his voice pitches when he was saying that. The second one that I considered sort of to be controversy was that he said he was going to run for governor for Florida, and I'm like, bro, like you're not gonna do that. Like, you
Bro
know,
or
if
rude
you
dude.
um
That's not happening.
I mean, it's not happening, but
You
even
know
in the
what? You
event,
should. Matt, I want you to run for governor of Florida. I think that would be amazing. I can get you into some places where you could try to do a fundraiser. I mean, they pretty much like DeSantis already, but hey, I'm sure you could win them over. I mean, especially if your wife brings some of her friends. Have like a little Epstein the Villages kind of thing going
oh
on.
my god.
So I'm just saying there's a lot of gated community golf clubs down there with a lot of old men that are horny and their wives just don't care. They're always like, yes, I'm going to into West Palm to shop. So you boys have fun. There's going to be hookers. We don't care. We haven't cared in 25 years. You're 81. We don't care.
Yeah, right.
We're also 81. So
But if he ever did decide to just freaking run and see how it just pans out, I will be watching it. I'll be talking about it just because I will find it funny. The same way that
I want nothing more in life right now. I mean, more than I want Shotzi, Priscilla, and Scarlett on Garden of Thought. I want Matt Riddle to run for governor of Florida, and I want to be part of his staff. I will say I have met in air quotes Matt Riddle twice.
Oh, you have?
And both times he's been charming.
Yes.
And neither time. One time he probably should have been because he was selling autographs and pictures. I wasn't buying one, but the other time had nothing to do with that. It was sort of random. That doesn't mean he's a great guy. It doesn't mean he doesn't have problems. Doesn't mean he's not flawed. We're all flawed. But yeah, he's listen. He lost his $1 million a year job. He is selling. He is working. Are some of his life choices interesting? Sure. So are Rob Van Dam's. He's probably one of the healthiest 54-year-olds you'll meet. So, or at least living a interesting life. No one's going Rob Van Dam. Oh, he's in a cyclone of peril. No, they're like Rob Van Dam. He's living his best life. So maybe that's the difference between 57 and 37. I don't know, but whatever. Matt's getting booked. He's doing indies. He's people were like, how did Riddle get on the PWI 500? Because he was the MLW World Champion all the entire year during their thing. I mean, it's kayfabe. If you have titles and if you have a world title for a promotion that anybody has heard of, that counts in and of itself. That gets you in the top 50 just by itself. If you have 3 titles from promotions that maybe 2/3 of the wrestling fans or 20% have heard of, that's also going to get you on there. I mean, no one's actually saying that Matt Riddle's better than CM Punk necessarily. Whether you think he is or isn't, that's what. Anyway, I don't know where we're going off on this, but the match was good. Hammerstone, because it's MLW, Hammerstone can still manage to stick around the title picture because he's still attacking Mads Kruger with a chair, and Matt Riddle officially turns heel and is what he's going after as a heel, I don't know, because Mads Kruger is sort of a heel, and I guess Ultimo Guerrero is a face with the Openweight Championship. The middleweight champion, I guess Templario is a face. I mean, Matt Riddle is light enough that he can go for all of those things.
He could go for all those things. The only reason why I want to bring all that side stuff up is because of I do see the videos, and I do, I do want people to be real, and then also tell people hey, don't take certain things that he says serious. And I think I have a bias because I had to work with him twice in a way. 1.5, but just. Yeah. And just being around him and talking to him, you realize that he is definitely misunderstood. But then again, like you said earlier, that everybody has flaws and no one is perfect. People always fuck up. But when you get that little moment to just talk with him and just hang around him, you realize, yeah, people definitely misunderstand him, just like they could misunderstand anybody else. But yeah, he has the rude dude going on. He has the heel stuff going on. We'll see how long it goes, because I honestly thought that after he lost the title that he was like, that was it, his contract was up. But I guess not. He's getting a lot of publicity with help with TMZ, so is MLW, so I guess it's a win-win situation. Aside from that, we have 2 more matches and then we're done. The MLW Featherweight Championship title match that was contested between Himawari, which we saw like a while ago, versus Shoko Nakajima, who's our champion. This was a very, very, very cute match for Japanese women's wrestling, which, by the way, if you are a woman wrestler out there in training or a veteran, like, pay attention to this match, because I really, really loved the opening of the match where it was wrestling. We got a single leg takedown by Shoko where she's using her head and neck area to basically cripple the other opponent to make them fold, because she puts her head and neck in like the calf area of the leg, and then goes for a pin cover. However, while she's doing the pin cover, she also has a headlock applied. So when the opponent kicks out, you guys can automatically go into a standing position for the headlock and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I love that. I was fangirly, because like, it's the details, guys. Whenever you have a wrestling match, it's the details that make it memorable, that make it, the rhythm is going to flow right. Like, what you're going to get with the little details. So do not skip out on the details. Don't do like 15-minute pops. Don't do your match for Uncle Dave. Fuck that and fuck his stars. But then again, you can go over to my merchandise link and get yourself a star shirt too if you want to. Because we all gotta sell something here. Like I said, it was the cutest match ever. We get that whirly elbow drop to Himawari. Hima ends up using her hair a lot of the times in this match, which I was like, hey, I need Bianca Belair to do that. Like, I sort of missed it. We get like some side slams, we get some tiger kicks, we get some strikes, some power bombs, Northern Lights DDT, and a big senton from Shoko that she does from like the second rope down. And finally, she gets the pin on Himawari and retains the championship title. I honestly thought this match could have been ended like 5 minutes before rather than keep on going. But overall, cute little match.
Yeah. Everything I didn't like about Shoto and Fujiwara, I think it's Fujiwara, was because Fujiwara is so long and tall and it just looks silly. This is the right match for Shoto, who's like 4'11", and Himawara, I think she's like maybe 5'1". This was fun, Joshi. It's like when Lucha is silly and fun, it's fun. When Joshi is silly and fun, it's fun. This was fun. It was well, actually. This is what Shoto needs. She needs to work with people who are more or less her same size. Like, I have no idea if like an Alexa Bliss or Roxanne Perez could work this style or not, but she needs to work with people that size. Selena Vega, and so everything I didn't like about the last match, this match was perfect. I was not looking forward to it. I'm not into this whole Shoto big bad kaiju thing. I think it's silly. She's not. I think her outfit is silly. I'm not into anime. The other woman was like all speed racery and whatever. But this worked. This was a fun little match. I agree it was a little long. 5 minutes, I don't know, but I'd say a good 2.5 minutes. Like the hair whips were done a little bit too long before Shoto figured out that she could, pull her by her hair. But the moves work when they're the same size. I mean, and then everything worked here. That said, I think it's about time maybe Shoto drops her title and goes back to her home promotion for a while. I think this is enough. We have Shotzi. We have Priscilla. I don't know how long they're staying. La Leona came in. There are other people available. Ava Everett. I mean, I know that was a local thing. We had Tara Zapp come in once. I know was a local Zapp rather. But I mean, there are people out there, and I then again, I mean, I know that MLW is sort of fusion, like having the different styles from around the world is part of their thing. Anyway, this match I liked. Well, what's more to say? I liked it. I didn't love it, but I did. I mean, I hated the other one. I didn't hate it this at all. I liked it. I thought it was fun.
I also do think that they need to. I know they could only bring a certain amount of people with them on the road every time that they do this, and they do have that revolving door, which I'm grateful for MLW having that revolving door, so that way we don't get tired of seeing the same people wrestle over and over when it comes to like the women's division. But like we got to start pumping out some more stories other than like Shoko wrestling the Joshi wrestlers like just because there's a lot of women who are waiting to get a chance at that championship title, but it just seems like it's that stuff develops a little too slow versus how the men are developed, just right. But it could just be optics, the way that I'm thinking about it.
Well, they don't keep a lot of women on the roster, and
Yeah, yeah.
while in the past they've been talking about Shotzi looking at that title, they didn't really
Mm-hmm.
mention. Now maybe they will in 2 weeks, but now she's being sidetracked by Priscilla. Well, that's wrestling. You think you have a goal, but somebody else has their own goal, and you're in their way. I mean, that's wrestling. That's fine. That's why not everything is about titles. Some of it's about the feuds to get yourself titles. I mean, that's why there's blood feuds and grudge feuds and personal feuds, because not everybody can be in a title mix, but in some theory they should be working their way towards something. I just don't know who her next opponent is. So if they just pull out another random person, it may work for me or it may not. This Kimawari, this was great, but this might have been lightning in a bottle, because I don't know how many other 5-1. I mean, like, I know Saraya is in the United States. I don't know if she's exclusive to Ring of Honor or AEW, or if she's working. Like, she'd be fine. I mean, she's also like 5 feet tall. I think that'd be a fun match. See her in a context other than NXT, where it's more controlled and probably not exactly to her liking. I don't know. You're right though. There's the women's division is sort of, they pretend that's not an afterthought, but it's definitely sort of the undercard. It's not where the focus is, and maybe in 2025 there should be, but maybe they're like, wrestling's really about the dudes, and yeah, we're not going to compete with NXT, which is literally 50-50, and WWE, which pretends to be 50-50, but it's more like 65-35.
Yeah.
We're not competing with them, so let's just try to stay true to ourselves and have enough women's stuff that no one's really criticizing us anyway, because we're under the radar. So let's so we can bring back Austin Aries. We can do this, that, and the other thing. Let's just do what we're doing, and and showcase the people who want to see Josie, or want to see someone from Shimmer or Wow, or promotions from around the world. I don't know. I mean, if they're going to make that title for women like an international one, I would like to see them bring in someone from that works for like the Lou's promotion in Montreal, or even Maple Leaf Wrestling, or someone that Rev Pro or whatever. And I know that costs money, so it's probably makes sense to do with these promotions that already have people working in the States that they have some relationship with. I don't have the answer to it, but you're right. The women's card doesn't seem to be as important, and Shotzi and Priscilla immediately is the most important women's match or rivalry in MLW, rightfully so. But it shouldn't be. Like, a title should be, but it's not, because we have to live in the real world also.
I just want consistency. That's all I want. Consistency and story. Don't start something with like, Ava Everett and then like never really capitalize or continue to bring her along for the tour of MLW, maybe if like they do a New Japan style sort of like tour where you bring people along, but I would have to sit down and really like talk, like think about it, write it out, and like really showcase it to my audience of like, hey, this is how we can improve MLW by just these small little tweaks, obviously I don't know anything about their budget, so like it'll just be like a fantasy kind of thing of like, hey, maybe some of this stuff could work, it whatever it is, but I do want to see a more more focused on the women's division as well as like the men's division, even though I do agree wrestling is a man's sport. I'm never going to deny that. And I love all the opportunities that I get in it. But sometimes we got to be like, hey, we got to tell different stories too and whatnot. You know, you don't want people to get really annoyed about the men wrestling all the time or the same men stories that we see all the time. Like I you know, some fresh stuff. Other than that, we have our main event, which is the Opera Cup 2025. We have Mystico versus Ultimo Guerrero, and you know, I love Mystico. Okay, Mystico has the longest line and sells out his merchandise line every single time MLW does a meet and greet. There are so many fans for Mystico, and getting to work with him, even though my Spanish is horrible, but I always do have like an ace in the hole to help me with that, and you know that's always taken care of. However, I will say, Mystico, even though I love you and I appreciate what you do, please stop doing dives every single time, man. Because this whole entire match was Ultimo Guerrero using his strength to basically put away Mystico, and they fought for like, I don't know, I'm going to over exaggerate, 20 minutes, even though it's probably not 20 minutes, on the floor doing like all this big guy power moves and stuff like that. Mystico gets up, the crowd is like energizing him, and Mystico's like, yeah, I'm gonna go back into the ring, right? And they do some stuff in the ring, and then, you know, Ultimo Guerrero is now on the outside the ring, and here comes, you know, Mystico with a dive. And I was like, bro, you guys spent like 20 minutes out there. Like, why are we going back to that? So yeah, please like slow down on dives. Please like think about the psychology of the match. Ultimo Guerrero has so much power that like he destroys people. He was destroying Mystico, but then somehow, some way, after all the power moves that Mystico has taken, Mystico ends up doing like the head scissors, like where they're like twirling or whatnot, brings him down and puts him in like this arm bar-ish kind of thing. And Ultimo Guerrero tapped. I almost felt a sneeze. So Ultimo Guerrero tapped, and then Mystico advances, gets like a tiny bit to celebrate, and then here comes Austin Aries to ruin the feel-good moment in Los Angeles, California. Oh my god.
Austin Aries beat up Mystico from behind, and you know, and that's basically how the show almost goes off the air while she's recapturing her nose. I will say this: last time we did a podcast, we both agreed that we don't really like having people with titles, especially singles titles, in the Opera Cup. We sort of suggested it would be interesting if the Esfinge beat Ultimo Guerrero to advance, and that would set up another story where Esfinge can go after Ultimo Guerrero for the openweight title. I think partly in the back of our heads, that's because we knew that Ultimo Guerrero was not winning the Opera Cup. He's not going to be in the finals of the Opera Cup. Once you saw the Mystico bracket, you had a pretty good idea Mystico was winning and advancing, and he should. I think Mystico and Austin Aries on one side is really cool. Kojima on the other side. This is cool. This is sort of what you want to see. You're sort of seeing all stars. That said, now you have a guy with the singles championship lose, and it's very unlikely that the guy who beat him is going after that singles championship, whether or not he wins the Opera Cup or not. It's unlikely. Maybe he will. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. Maybe that'll be a feud. But I think that I remember Mystico sort of saying a while ago when he surrendered the MLW middleweight championship that he was going after the world title. He didn't say anything about the openweight title, but maybe he changed his mind in the intervening 8 months. But anyway, I see Maria's back, and it looks like she's recaptured her face. So got control over those over herself. So
I almost made it through the whole podcast without sneezing. Almost.
Very good. Look at you.
But yeah, Yeah, you're right. Mystico did say that he was going to go for the world title. But then, yeah, I don't know what's happening. I really don't know. This is why we need like some type of consistency. If like someone's going to say something and they're going to go do it. But you know, our biggest
Wait a
story
minute.
right
Hold on
now
a second.
is what?
Ultimo Guerrero didn't. He's not the champion anymore. He lost the champion to Blue Panther Jr.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is weird also because Blue Panther Jr. tag team wrestled, but he lost it on a CMLL card in Mexico. So he's not even the champion. So he could have lost as Esfinge, without that. And Esfinge could, he could still say, well, I beat the last champion, you beat the champion. So Blue Panther Jr., I should be going after you. It's the same thing. Now Mystico doesn't even have that line to be saying, I beat the former champion, so I want to go out. So even though I forgot that little detail, it actually makes even less sense that Ultimo Guerrero lost in this round versus the other round.
Well, I mean, Mystico right now is like the hot act, so like I don't know, they might have wanted him to advance, but our
Mystico absolutely should have advanced. I'm saying Ultimo Guerrero shouldn't have advanced, and listen, I like Ultimo Guerrero, and yes, but I love Sphinx. I love the Sphinx. I
do too.
Characters that are all like Garden of Doomish for in CMLL. I'm always going to be biased from just because of their names, and especially if they look like real wrestlers, like they're 6'2", 6'3", 260. So I mean, Ultimo Guerrero looks like he's as thick as Hammerstone, very different way, but he's basically the Otis equivalent in for CMLL. A thick, strong guy. I don't know. Anyway, the match was fine. Mystico winning is perfectly fine. I just wanted Esfinge to win last time for reasons.
Yeah, right. But our point still stands that we don't like champions in tournaments. I really don't. Make sure to give those spots to people that don't have a championship title, or give them to like the new guys. Let them get a spotlight for like a little bit. I feel like tournaments are supposed to be making new stories, while it can sort of like end old stories depending on like what's happening. New Japan Pro Wrestling used to be very good at this, but because who they have in management, they are failing at it. More coming on another New Japan podcast episode because it's been way too long. But MLW, I want you guys to go save New Japan Pro Wrestling or WWE at this point for putting over AJ Styles as being the undisputed boss of Bullet Club. So either promotion, go save New Japan, get it out of AEW's hands. But yeah, we're gonna end on that note. So Dos Evil, please put yourself over.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing to add is that we continue to see the skyscrapers and Max Kruger fighting and Hammerstone coming in and basically chasing the skyscrapers also he could go after Max Kruger. On X, I'm at Dos_Evil. I have a podcast called The Garden of Thought. You'll generally get 2 to 3 shows per week. One of them often features me with a co-host that is a professional wrestler, where we're interviewing someone who is a professional wrestler or in wrestling. And we often talk about wrestling, but non-wrestling things alike. So it's a little bit unique in that regard, I think, anyway. I do on Wrestling Soup, I do some stuff. I do the LFG review show with Lufisto. Yes, that Lufisto. So we're going to record the show reviewing the season finale of LFG season 2 today. And then we're going to have a retrospective with a psychologist that's actually a wrestling fan for a retrospective. We'll probably record that later this week. And I do on the Wrestling Soup and Friendos. Yes, that's a feed that exists. It's separate. It's called Dose of Chocolate because my co-host is White Chocolate. And we review Evolve, the to be basically single A WWE ID program, NIL entry level program, sort of single A wrestling show, which is sort of fun, sort of not, but you can sort of pick on it a little bit. It's a little bit like MLW. You don't have to take it terribly seriously, at all times. Though in WWE you do, because that means they're probably going to release you. But anyway. So there's that. So anyway, listen, if you follow me on the X, you're going to find everything that I do. And I very much appreciate Marie for letting me be a part of the Squared Circle podcast family. And you should absolutely support her in the various ways she enables you to support her. I know that you recently switched to Patreon after an experiment with a different platform, and you've got merch and all that stuff. So, it's Christmas time. It's the season. There's no tariffs on our stuff, so I think not anyway. So help the grinder out. I mean, she's hustling. She's trying to make a livelihood of doing this, and so let her.
Yeah, that is exactly right. Independent content creator that is not backed by any other machine out there. Like, it's all organic and stuff like that, and I'm very thankful for my community to be with me. But yeah, definitely no tariffs on any of my stuff. But yeah, went back to
Glory might be looking for a new commentary guy, though. So maybe you could insinuate yourself into that.
So a little story. I actually did try to apply for House of Glory at one point, but I think it was for their Instagram stuff, but they never got back to me. So you know what I did? I traveled all the way over there to just speak to them and be like, hey, I didn't hear anything back. Like, it would have been a nice, like, hey, we went forward with somebody else. I did get the chance to meet Amazing Red at that point, and then Amazing Red told me that they already had the position filled. But yeah, to travel all the way to Queens by myself was like oh fuck. But yeah, that's how, I don't know, spunky might not be the right word, but like ambitious I am to just work with another company to the best of my ability to just help them out in any aspect that I can. So yeah, story time.
Ballsy.
Okay, ballsy. There we go.
Ballsy badass. You're like Shotzi. You and Shotzi have a lot in common.
Yeah. I think I'm starting to realize that I'm just not so big into horror. But yeah, the next time that I see Shotzi, I'll talk to her the next time that I see her. We'll see what happens. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so there's that story, because I did say, was I right? Because I'm always right.
You're never wrong for standing up for yourself, even if there's other ways to do it. You're never wrong for standing up for yourself. I mean, especially if all you did was send an inquiry and got no response. I think most adults would rather hear no than be ignored. The only thing worse than being ignored is getting a yes from somebody and then being ghosted.
Yeah. I actually did the interview with them too for that social media spot that they had asked like so many years ago. This is when one of my other buddies was training to be a referee with them, and he passed me along the information of like, hey, they're looking for somebody. You might want to come down and do the interview and talk to them or whatnot. But yeah, like I said, because I didn't hear anything.
Be like Oro Mensa, who said to me no, like a man. Don't be like Jake Something, who said yes and then said, oh, I'm laying low for a while, but I'm going to follow up with you when my arm gets better. And once his arm got better, I'm like, hey, you ready? And nothing. So Jake Something, 280 of you, I don't care. You're dead to me.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, that happens in the wrestling business. There are not to put out like any of my I don't know, it's not really dirty laundry, but there are wrestlers that I still need interviews from, but nothing has happened. But yeah.
I'm a
it is what it is.
Year-old man. Hearing no isn't going to ruin my day. I mean, it's not going to make my day either. But I know I scratch it off, move on to the next thing. I've heard no, I've said no. It ain't a big deal.
Yeah, it's really not. But yeah, I'm back on Twitter, so if you guys want to follow me at Marie_Shadows over there. Yeah, Patreon is available. Patreon.com/Marie Shadows. That is where you get to learn where and what I'm cheating on with the Square Circle podcast, trying to tie it back into the earlier stuff. Because sometimes you do need another outlet for things. Wrestling, to be honest, as much as I love to do this, I like to do quality over quantity, because if you have quantity, everything's just gonna like mingle and mix together and stuff. I'm not trying to lecture people out there, but that's just how I feel. So patreon.com/Marie Shadows, Square Circle podcast, basically the YouTube channel, and in a couple of days time the channel itself turns 6 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so 6 years old. started in 2019. So YouTube reminded me that the YouTube channel is 6 years old, with 400 plus episodes within 6 years. So yeah, Square Circle Podcast over on YouTube, the Discord Notes podcast, the podcast that I'm cheating on Square Circle Podcast with, over on YouTube, over on Patreon, my merchandise, everything. Yeah, support both of us. We'll come back again on October 25th for Sleepy Hollows. Symphony of Hollows. Symphony of Hollows. It's supposed to be musicy. And then
Symphony of Hollows or Symphony of Horrors?
Horrors. Symphony of Horrors. I closed my book.
Horrors.
I closed my notes book so nobody gets upset at me. Okay.
Symphony of Hollows would be a little bit deep. That would be like a title of one of my Garden of Thought shows, because like I would have Sleepy Hollow and all that. So, but yeah, Symphony of Horrors. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that show. I think they're going to really lean into the Halloween stuff, and
yeah,
I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see more about Cross and Scarlet. Maybe see a little bit more about Priscilla Kelly. You know, people who, in my opinion, probably shouldn't have been released. I almost always understand why somebody is, and I understand that's going to happen. I understand that I'm always not going to be happy about it. But these are talented people with characters and personalities, and that's sort of rare. And so I guess it's our benefit that we get to see them now in these more intimate venues, and actually, there's like more of a chance to be able to, metaphysically or metaphorically, feel and touch them, and absorb a little bit more from them. So I'm looking forward to all of that. I mean, I can't say that I'm sure Dijak wasn't thrilled that he's released, but I think his career, I think people look at him much more seriously than they did when he was in WWE main roster anyway, especially after Retribution. And then even his second NXT run, because they were sort of tainted. So, I think people actually look at Baron Corbin, Bishop Dyer, with more respect now, because he's doing like he seemed like a spoiled brat before. Now he's grinding, So look at that. You can see all sorts of different sides of people, and even if you don't really understand what's going on with Matt Riddle, at least he's being himself.
Yeah.
Whatever himself is that particular month, it's him in that moment.
Yep. So yeah, thank you guys for listening to us and liking, subscribing, sharing it out on YouTube, Spotify, and like anywhere else that I put it up, on Rumble, and it's probably gonna go up on Patreon too. So yeah, from me and Dos Divo, we'll see you guys next time on October 25th.
Stay with my friends.